Welcome to the Big Seven Stories on Wells Television for today. I am Bolanle Oduekun-Ayoola. Now, every week on this program, we count down the 7 stories that everyone has been talking about, from the news that shakes the nation to the events that are shaping our world. Just know that if it made the headlines, then you find it right here on the Big Seven Stories. So, let's get into the Big Seven. Our first story of the day is the story that made the rounds early in the week and has still continued to make tongues wag over the week between the FCT Minister Wike and the young naval officer. If you've seen the meme, one person is saying you're a fool and the other person is saying I'm not a fool, sir. All right, let's get to the story. Now, tension erupted in Abuja this week as the FCT Minister Wike confronted a naval officer over a disputed parcel of land, which led to a heated standoff that has drawn sharp criticism from various quarters, from military leaders, civil servants, and members of the public in general. Now, this contested plot of land, plot 1946 in Gadua in Abuja, is said to allegedly belong to retired Vice Admiral Awal Zubairu Gambo, a former Chief of Naval Staff. Now, the FCTA administration, that's the FCT administration, the video footage of the incident shows the FCT Minister Wike demanding to see documents, demanding to be let in, and accusing the owner of the land and even the officers that were stationed there of acting illegally. According to him, he said they're enforcing an illegal development and threatening government officials who are there to regulate the land. Now, the naval officer, who has been identified as Lieutenant Yerima, insisted that he was acting on orders and he was not going to leave, and with the FCT minister saying that that plot will never be, developed. Now, in response to this clash, the former Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, and Minister of State for Defense, Bello Matawali, weighed in. General Lucky Rabo warned that any public disrespect to uniformed officers undermines state authority. He noted that the uniform symbolizes the power, dignity, and sovereignty of Nigeria. Meanwhile, Matawali, on the other hand, also, defended Lieutenant Yerima. He said the officer acted professionally and under lawful orders. He argued that, there is no basis to sanction the officer. The matter goes on. We'll eventually see what happens to that parcel of land and if either of the parties will apologize. Let's move to our second story of the day. In Edo State, a fierce dispute has erupted around the Museum of West African Art, MOWAA, in Benin City, following the revocation of its land rights by Governor Monday Okpebholo. Now, Okpebholo cited overriding public interest. He revoked the museum's right of occupancy under sections 28 and 38 of the Land Use Act, and he directed that the land, which is about 6.21 hectares, be returned to its original purpose, which is the historic Benin Central Hospital. Now, the MOWAA leadership have defended their mission. They clarified that they have never claimed ownership of, the Benin bronzes. They reaffirmed their respect for Oba Eware II, that's the traditional ruler of Benin. And don't forget that earlier this month, protesters had apparently stormed a preview exhibition at MOWAA, citing concerns over cultural authority and the legitimacy of the MOWA's establishment itself. Deputy Governor of Edo State, Dennis Dahosa, had previously warned MOWAA against encroaching on hospital land, insisting that clear boundary lines must be respected. Now, the Governor of Edo State has established a committee to investigate the circumstances under which the original land allocation was made, and he has promised a full review and public accountability. Our third story on the Big Seven Stories for today brings us right down to Ibadan, where Wells Television is located. In Oyo State, Ibadan, Governor Makinde is facing mounting backlash after aggressive demolitions tied to the Ibadan Circular Road projects, led to protests around the city. Many property owners have been crying foul, accusing Governor Makinde's administration of overreach and forced land acquisitions. They've called him so many unprintable names, during the protests. Residents from several local governments, including Makinde, Ogbeda, and others, staged a mass protest this week, starting from Monday, condemning what they called the sudden extension of the road setback. Now, from initial 75 meters, that's 75 meters on both sides, to 150 meters, now to 500 meters on both sides. They are insisting that this expansion goes beyond what was originally approved, which they say is 75 meters, and later amended to 150 meters. And they're saying that their homes are at risk. Some have even gone ahead to say that it's not the whole 500 meters, that the government wants to use sake of the road. They're saying that aside the 75 meters, that some people, in the government, they are alleging that the government has begun selling the lands, to real estate companies, real estate developers, who are then selling the lands to influential people. So they're saying that this is not just a government takeover or an acquisition. They're saying that the government essentially is stealing their lands from them and selling to the highest bidder. Now, in response, Governor Makinde has defended his plan. He argued that this project is essential for Ibadan's long-term development. He said he is ready to engage the genuine landowners in dialogue, but that the road is key to the city's future. He also made assertions that the protests were politically inclined. He said that it was all politicking, and his political enemies were at work, and they sponsored, those who had gone on the protests. Still in Oyo State, former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who spoke at the inauguration of a new mega bus terminal in Ibadan at Iwo Road, praised Governor Makinde for making the city livable and urged calm, saying that infrastructure projects like this will pay off in the long run. Now, to the new bus terminal in Iwo Road, very beautiful and very magnificent. However, a little bit of order never hurt anyone. Now, residents of Ibadan, Oyo State, who ply that route, have complained in the past a day or two. It was just recently commissioned on Wednesday. Now, on Thursday and on Friday, many of them have complained about the problems they've had in navigating the bus stop. So the problem is it's new. It's just here. There are no signs that say this is, this cab is going here, this bus is going here. So it's been really, really stressful for everyone. This is calling out to the management system in charge of that park to ensure that signs are in place and generally to ensure that people have a good experience. Which takes us to our next story on the Big 7 Stories. The federal government during the week scrapped its 2022 policy allowing primary pupils to be taught in their local languages, announcing that English will once again be the only language of instruction in schools across Nigeria. Now, according to the Ministry of Education and the Minister of Education, data from recent assessments showed lower performance in national examinations in areas or in states where indigenous languages were used. And he said that this is a key factor in the decision to revert to English. But this decision to revert to English as the major language of instruction for pupils in primary schools has triggered strong reactions, particularly from the northern states. Don't forget that in Kano, just recently, the State Assembly introduced a bill to make Hausa the main language of instruction in schools. And in Niger State, Governor Mohammed Marbago publicly urged fellow northern governors to embrace Hausa over English, citing concerns over comprehension and cultural relevance. And it's not only in the northern states that, before now, the native tongue had been used as a language, to teach students. Also in places like Ogun State, we've had people, speak to us and say that at some time, some years back, core members were instructed to, teach these children in Yoruba language. Let's get to our next story on the Big 7 Stories for today. Now, in Nigeria, the health sector unions are ringing the alarm again. The National Association of Resident Doctors, NARD, has commenced on an indefinite strike. They are citing massive unpaid allowances, poor working conditions, and unmet welfare demands. And at the same time, The joint health sector unions, JOHESO, also announced that they will begin a nationwide strike starting Saturday midnight, demanding full implementation of the adjusted health salary scale, CONHES, and other long-standing reforms. The government has been urged not to intimidate striking workers as pressure is mounting for a resolution. And it's not just in Nigeria alone, because over in the United Kingdom, resident doctors, who were formerly known as junior doctors, have also launched a 5-day strike beginning from November 14, protesting stagnant pay and a lack of secure job progression. The British Medical Association is demanding a 26% pay rise, stating that doctors' real earnings have eroded significantly since 2008. The Health Secretary West Streeting pushed back hard, calling the strike unreasonable and accusing the union of choosing confrontation over patient care. Our doctors need to be taken care of just the same way, just as they take care of patients, they also need to be well taken care of. They need to be remunerated properly. There also needs to be structure in the work they do. Let's move to our sixth story on the Big Seven Stories for today. US President Donald Trump has threatened to sue the British Broadcasting Corporation, BBC, for at least $1 billion, accusing the broadcaster of defamation after it misedited his January 6, 2021 speech in a Panorama documentary. Now, his legal team gave the BBC a formal deadline to retract the documentary, to issue a full and fair apology, and pay appropriate financial compensation, or face a lawsuit. In response, the BBC has apologized. They have admitted that they made an error of judgment in the way the speech was edited. But in the same vein, they have rejected President Trump's defamation claim. They said there is no legal basis for damages. Now, so what happened was the earlier version spliced together some parts of Donald Trump's speech, nearly 54 minutes apart. And so it created the impression that he told supporters, "We'll walk down to the Capitol and we fight like hell." After this controversy broke initially, the BBC Director General, Tim Davie, and the news chief, Deborah Turness, they both resigned. Trump said he feels obligated to still sue them. He called the misedit a fraud against the public. The BBC, on its own hand, has pulled the program from its platforms. It says it won't broadcast it again in that form. We'll continue to look and see what happens. And on our last story on the Big Seven Stories, I say our last story, but before we wrap up, we'll quickly talk about the PDP. But on our last story, which is our sports story, on the Big Seven Stories, the Super Eagles delivered a thrilling performance this week to keep Nigerians' hopes alive for the 2026 FIFA World Cup in Rabat. The team secured a 4-1 win over Gabon national football team after extra time, booking their place in the African playoff final. The breakthrough came in the 78th minute when Akko Adams pounced on a poor defensive pass and rounded the keeper to give Nigeria the lead. But Gabon struck back in the 89th minute through Mario Lemina, forcing extra time. And in the extra time, Nigeria took control. Chidera Ejike scored early in extra time, followed by a brace from Victor Osimhen, first in the 102nd minute and then again in the 110th minute, sealing a comprehensive victory. In fact, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu congratulated the team, urging the squad to maintain focus as they prepare for the final playoff match, which could lead them into the Inter-Confederation playoff stage. And with this win, the Eagles are one step closer to returning to the World Cup stage. Now they must beat their next opponent in Sunday's final to secure a chance at qualification. The stakes are really high, but for now, Nigeria is celebrating a hard-earned triumph on African soil. And last but not the least, before we wrap it up on the Big Seven Stories, it would be a big sin not to talk about the PDP National Elective Convention, which is currently ongoing in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. The PDP has been through a lot in recent times. In the past couple of weeks, they have been through a lot. And I'll take you through what it is. One of Nigeria's biggest political parties, if not one of the biggest political parties in Africa, the People's Democratic Party, has been facing internal crisis in the past couple of days. Not necessarily just in the past couple of days, but ever since the build-up to the 2023 elections. Yes, since the build-up to the 2023 elections, when 5 governors came together and called themselves the G5. The G5 came together because they were not happy with some things that were happening within the PDP, and they did not support the presidential candidates at that time. Now, the PDP is split across factional lines. There's the Damagum-led faction and there's the Abdurrahman-led faction, which is loyal to the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike. The Damagum-led faction goes hand in hand with the Oyo State Governor Makinde. Now, the PDP convention, which was slated to hold and is already holding on the 15th and 16th of November 2025, seemed as though it suffered a hitch initially when some members, that's the faction, the Abdurrahman faction loyal to the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, took them to court. And then the judge, Justice Omotosho, said that, the convention must not hold until the PDP has ensured that it has done all the congresses in the states. So that's what happens. You have to do the congresses in the states. When you do the state congresses across all 36 states, that's when they'll be able to know who the delegates are that are coming, who are the people that are contesting coming from the states as well. So apparently, the congresses have not been held in some states. And so Justice James Omotosho, who ruled on that case, said that the convention should not hold until they have done all the congresses in the states where congresses have not been held. Now, the PDP, Damagum-led PDP faction, got a counter judgment from Judge Akintola here in Ibadan to say that the convention can go ahead. And everyone thought that, the convention will go ahead until there was another order. There was another court order from Justice Peter Lifu, who then ruled that, number one, INEC must not go and monitor or oversee the convention. And the meaning is this: if INEC does not go to monitor or oversee the convention, the elective convention, then it is null and void. It's at the elective convention where the party members choose who the people are that are going to represent them in the forthcoming elections. And so if INEC is not there, it's null and void. But the Damagum-led faction is still holding onto the convention. As a matter of fact, it's happening right now in Ibadan, Oyo State capital, at the Adamasingba Stadium. We'll see what comes out of it. We've heard that INEC is not on ground. They haven't publicly given a statement as to whether they will be monitoring that convention or not, but we know that at the moment INEC is not on ground. But we'll look and see what eventually happens, and we'll definitely give you feedback on some of our breaking news updates here on Wells Television. But that's it on the Big 7 stories for this week. 7 stories, one big picture. Don't forget, the news doesn't end. You can always join us here at Wells Television. I am Bolanle Oduekun-Ayoola. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel here. Just click on the subscribe button below or like our Facebook page at Wells Television, and I will be glad if you do that. That's it on the Big 7 stories for this week. Till next week. God bless you.